everyone. This is the Committee on Rules for Tuesday, December 7th of 2021. I understand that state law currently requires that the following announcement be made at the beginning of every remote public hearing as follows. Due to the current public health emergency, City Council committees are currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make these remote hearings possible. Instructions for how the public may view and offer public testimony at public hearings of council committees are included in the public hearing notices that are published in the Daily News, Enquirer, and Legal Intelligencer prior to the hearings and can also be found on phlcouncil.com. Would the clerk please call the roll to take attendance? Members that are in attendance will please indicate they are present when their names are called. Also, please say a few brief words when responding so that your image will be displayed on the screen when you speak.
Councilmember Squilla.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and colleagues present.
Councilmember O. Councilmember Bass.
Good afternoon, I am present.
Councilmember Gilmore Richardson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and colleagues, I'm present.
Councilmember Heenan. Councilmember Quinones Sanchez.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'm present.
Councilmember Jones.
Present.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Present.
Thank you, Joe Shue. A quorum of the committee is present, and this hearing is now called to order. This is the public hearing of the Committee on Rules regarding bills number 210899, 210922, and 210926. Will the clerk please read the titles of the bills?
Bill number 210899, amending Chapter 14-1000 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Historic Preservation to establish a temporary demolition moratorium with respect to properties in the area bounded by Henry Avenue, Roxborough Avenue, Silverwood Street, and Fountain Street, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 210922, to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Fountain Street, Umbria Street, Paoli Avenue, Ridge Avenue, Livezey Avenue, Valley Avenue, and Henry Avenue. Bill number 210926, to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Crispin Street, Willits Road, Academy Road, and Frankford Avenue.
Before we begin to hear testimony from the witnesses we have for today, everyone who has been invited to the meeting to testify should be aware that this public hearing is being recorded. Because the hearing is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. By continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. Additionally, prior to recognizing members for the questions or comments they have for witnesses, I will note for the record at this time that we will use the chat feature available in Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for this purpose. Will the clerk please call the panel for bill number 210899?
Paula Brumlow Burns.
Good afternoon, members of the Rules Committee. I'm Paula Brumlow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I am here to testify on bill number 210899, which was introduced into City Council on November 4th, 2021 by Councilmember Jones. Bill number 210899 amends the Philadelphia Zoning Code by amending Chapter 14-1000, Historic Preservation, to establish a temporary demolition moratorium with respect to properties in the area bounded by Henry and Roxborough Avenues, Silverwood and Fountain Streets. This bill will create a one-year demolition moratorium within an area of Roxborough known for Victorian homes. It will apply to properties that were shown on the map in Exhibit A of the bill. This will include the removal or partial removal of structural elements for the purpose of removal of an entire structure. The purpose of this moratorium is to allow for the application of the Victorian Roxborough Historic District. The Council office has been working directly with the Historical Commission on this request. The Planning Commission supports the work of the Historical Commission and the preservation of neighborhoods. Demolition moratoriums can disrupt the Commission's ability to address other historic preservation efforts that should take priority. By creating a moratorium, it pulls resources away from current projects and moves this area to the top of the priority list for designation. This process can have a negative impact on neighborhoods that have fewer resources and may negatively impact Black and brown areas of the city. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 210899 at its meeting of November 18, 2021, and based on the prioritization of designation through legislation, recommended not for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Are there any questions or comments from members of the committee? Councilman Curtis Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With all due respect to the Planning Commission, my constituents who live in Roxborough have been discovered. They're one of the best small towns in the city of Philadelphia, even though they are part of Philadelphia. Every area, similar to other areas in Philadelphia, has been bought up where Victorian homes used to be, and they've demolished them, sometimes for things as little as a Wendy's, and sometimes as much for multi-unit, single-family houses where there was a single before, now there are 20, 25 homes. This adds to traffic congestion. This adds to parking concerns because they rarely have a one-to-one parking component to it. So with all due respect to the Planning Commission, I think the 75,000 folk who live in that area will appreciate the passage of this moratorium for a period of time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of this committee?
Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank my colleague and District Council Member Curtis Jones Jr. for this very important legislation for the Roxborough community. And I wanted to stand in solidarity and in support of this measure and put that on the record. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the next panel for the next bill?
Paula Brumlow Burns, testifying on bill.
Go ahead, Joe Shue.
Testify on bill number 210922.
Thank you.
I'm Paula Brumlow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on bill number 210922, which was introduced into City Council on November 18th, 2021 by Councilmember Jones. Bill number 210922 amends the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of land located within an area bounded by Fountain and Umbria Streets, Paoli and Ridge Avenues, Livezey Street, and Valley and Henry Avenues. This bill proposes to change the zoning designations of land along Ridge Avenue from CMX 2.5 commercial mixed use to CA1 auto-oriented commercial. This area has seen a significant uptick in development projects that are changing the established development patterns of the neighborhood. The Commission staff recognizes the concerns of residents and the demand that the increased density has on the existing community. We would like to continue to work with the Council office and neighborhood to address these ongoing concerns through additional mapping and updating the text of the existing neighborhood commercial area overlay to create a long-term solution for the community. The Lower Northwest District Plan made several recommendations for Upper Roxborough along Ridge Avenue to encourage a pedestrian-oriented commercial corridor. Previous legislation changed the zoning to CMX 2.5 and updated the NCA for the area to promote this type of development and get away from the small-scale auto-oriented commercial with parking lots along Ridge Avenue. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission will consider Bill number 210922 at its meeting of December 9, 2021, where the staff will recommend not for approval to CA1 zoning designations. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones, the sponsor of the bill.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. And I want to thank the Planning Commission for its diligence in paying attention to the Roxborough area. But sometimes, every now and then, we're going to disagree. I appreciate you guiding us and giving us some guardrails, but every now and then, we're going to disagree. And I base it on knowing that community better than some members on the Planning Commission who need a GPS to find. So with that, I want to thank my colleagues for their support.
Thank you. Any other questions and comments from members of the committee? Okay, hearing none. Will the clerk please call the next panel and the next bill?
Paula Brumlow Burns testifying on bill number 210926.
Good afternoon. I'm Paula Brumlow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on bill number 210926, which was introduced into City Council on November 18th, 2021 by Councilmember Heenan. Bill number 210926 amends the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designation of land located within the area bounded by Crispin Street, Willits Road, Academy Road, and Frankford Avenue. The bill will correctively rezone the existing residential use along Pennypack Street from CA2 auto-oriented commercial to RM2 residential mixed-use zoning designation. Additionally, it will change the zoning designations of an existing shopping center from CA2 and RSA2 residential single-family attached. The proposed zoning for the commercial area will remove the split zoning from the property and have the entire area under the CA2 designation for the shopping center. The proposed bill advances the Far Northeast District Plan zoning recommendations, serving as a corrective zoning of the property and will match the current land uses within the bounded area. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission will consider bill number 210926 at its meeting of December 9th, 2021, and will have a staff recommendation for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions and comments from members of the committee? Hearing none. Thank you for your testimony. Is anyone else here to testify on these bills whose name has not yet been called? Hearing none, I want to thank all the panels and witnesses for their participation today. We value your input. I now invite all panels and witnesses to please disconnect from the meeting before we go into our public meeting. We will now pause for the proceedings briefly as multiple participants leave the hearing. This concludes the public hearing of the committee. We will now go into the public meeting to consider the action to be taken on the bills before this committee today. We will now convene the public meeting. Will the clerk please call a roll to take attendance? Members that are in attendance will please indicate they are present when their names are called. Also, please say a few brief words when you're responding so that your image will be displayed on screen when you speak.
Councilmember Squilla.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and colleagues. Present.
Councilmember O. Councilmember Bass.
Good afternoon. I am still present.
Councilmember Gilmore Richardson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and colleagues. I'm present.
Councilmember Heenan. Councilmember Quinones Sanchez.
Mr. Chair, I'm present.
Councilmember Jones.
Mr. Chairman and colleagues, I'm present.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Present.
We have a quorum. Thank you, Joe Shute. We will now go into our public meeting. The chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a motion on the amendment to bill number 210899.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I tried to do this in the Streets Committee by accident, but we have the right script now, so I'm good. I offer an amendment to Bill number 210899. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee, and I move for an amendment to Bill number 210899 be approved.
Second.
The chair recognizes Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson, who seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 210899 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the amendment to Bill number 210899 has been approved. The chair recognizes Councilman Mark Squilla for a motion on Bill number 210899 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the Bill number 210899 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit this bill at the next session of council.
Second.
The chair recognizes Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson, who seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that Bill number 210899 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilman Mark Squilla for a motion on amendment to Bill number 210922.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I offer an amendment to Bill number 210. Members of the committee, I move that the amendment to Bill number 210922 be approved.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 210922 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the amendment to Bill number 210922 has been approved. The chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a motion on Bill number 210922 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the Bill number 210922 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit this bill at the next session of council.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that Bill number 210922 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilman Mark Squilla for a motion on the amendment to Bill number 210926.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I offer an amendment to Bill number 210926. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee. I move that the amendment to Bill number 210926 be approved.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 210926 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the amendment to Bill number 210926 has been approved. The chair recognizes Councilman Mark Squilla for a motion on the bill number 210926 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the Bill number 210926 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit this bill at the next session of council.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that Bill number 210926 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank everybody for taking time out of your schedule and making the meeting. This concludes the meeting. There are no additional remarks. I want to thank everybody for their time and participating in our rules hearing today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr.
Everybody
Chair, and all. Have a great night.